Welcome to the Essentially You podcast. Stephen Wright, how are you doing today? Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. I'm well. I'm excited for this chat.
Yes, me too. Oh, I love gut health. I love all things what we can do to support our gut and our immune system. I know you and I were talking about how sick each of us were past the holidays, during the holidays, and you and I both know the gut plays such an integral role in maintaining our immune system. And let's be honest, I know it's the new year. A lot of us could use a little help in the digestive department, recovering from the holidays as well. And so we're going to be talking specifically about digestive enzymes. But before we do this, I know you have a strong passion for gut health and ways in which that we can heal the gut. I'd love for everyone to really hear your story.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the short version, which was I was born with a hydrocele hernia, which is a sort of a defect that affects some boys. And so it's where the ball sac doesn't completely close and your intestines usually get trapped. And so I had digestive issues right from birth and I almost didn't make it. Luckily, modern medicine stepped in with some antispasmodic drugs and I was able to be here today. So I just have had an upset gut kind of a little bit throughout the rest of my life. And I also grew up in the time period where you would go to the dermatologist and you get handed antibiotics like they're TikToks. So I got like 4 years of antibiotics for my acne when I was in high school. I also went to college and had a Animal House like experience in college. And so by the time I graduated from college and I was ready to like grow up and get rid of the weight I had gained and get rid of my acne finally and get rid of my gut issues, I was in quite a mess. And so I actually had a bunch of really embarrassing things happen, including the fact that like after every meal, no matter if I ate beer and pizza or a salad and chicken, I would have like extreme bloating. And then the pain was so bad. It's called visceral hypersensitivity. It's like 30 to 50% of people with bloating get it. Feels kind of like glass in your intestines or knives in your gut. I would basically kind of load up a spreadsheet at work and softly like kind of cry. And then if you've been that bloated, you know that there's really only one way to go from there, and that's to fart and get it out. But then you're kind of stuck in the shame and guilt of being the stinky person. And so I actually got pulled into my boss's office for being the stinky guy at work and told that if I don't get this under control, I can't, kind of keep what was my dream job at the time as a consultant. And so that launched me into, like men, I think we need 2x4s to the head, maybe a few times to wake up and like handle our gut health or our physical health. So I went to Western medical doctors, and they kind of just said like, look, man, you have a history of IBS. Here's some antibiotics. Here's Metamucil. Here's whole grains. Just figure it out. You'll be okay. I was missing dates. I was in trouble at work. Like I was having accidents on buses. Like this was like affecting, there was no like more sucking it up that I could do. And so I just got mad enough that I started to switch my diet up and I went on a specific carbohydrate diet, which is sort of a paleo-like diet. And like 50% of my bloating went away in a week. And that lit a fire underneath of me. I think between the guilt and the shame and the anger, and then this newfound personal responsibility, like, hey, if no one else is going to save me, I'll save me. And I can figure this out. Just because they have a medical degree does not mean that they have my best interests at heart. And so,
or that they have a super crazy, amazing expertise in your particular situation.
Right. And so my degree from college is electrical engineering, which is just basically like problem solving stuff you can't see. And so I was like, hey, I can reverse engineer this. If I can just find other people who suffered like me or other doctors who have treated people like me, I can reverse engineer what they did to work for myself. And then I was so mad at the time. I was like, more people have to know about this. And so that's what I've been doing since 2009 is sort of blogging, writing, testing on myself, going through everything I can to feel as good as I can feel, look as good as I can look. And frankly, I just sort of enjoy it. I love ordering random stuff from Asia or Russia and being up on the latest research and being like, hey, can I get another 10% better? Can I sleep another 10% better? Things like that. And so that's sort of led us to this conversation today.
And how are you doing today? We could talk about like definitely replenishing the gut, loving the gut, the way that we eat, but also sometimes there's a limitation of matter. And from when you were very young, since you were an infant, there was a little bit of a limitation of matter. So I'm just curious, is it about for you consistent daily habits? Is it about like, you got to just stay on top of it?
Yeah, that's 1,000%. I mean, I think that where we put our time and attention is our values. And so health is a top 3 value for me. I don't understand people who miss their supplements. It doesn't even occur to me. Like, to me, supplements and food are what keep me healthy, wealthy, wise, like everything, happy, joyful, sleeping good. It doesn't even occur to me to miss that kind of, like, miss my supplements, or even it doesn't occur to me to cut my budget on supplements. They're so important, is what I've learned. I've cut them out. I've brought them back in. I've tried $2,000 worth of supplements a month, and I've tried, $100 of supplements a month, and I found the right dosage for me. And that seems to be that for myself in this current environment with all our technology and with the way our food system is and the way our soils are and the way our air is. I need supplements on a regular basis, and I need a certain diet on a regular basis and a little bit of exercise to really feel good and just operate as a really well-regulated human.
In your personal opinion, just for your particular situation, how much is each of them playing? Like, I was so happy to hear that food was a major player for you, right? And I believe it is like the foundation for everything, but also I think all of us need to supplement it, just because I find that even the best of us are probably not as consistent with food as we would love to, whether it's an event or an occasion or it's the holidays or whatever it is, right? But it's the one thing that I feel can really kind of get us over that hump is going to be, tailored supplementation that our body absolutely needs. So for you, kind of, is food 60% of it, 80% of it? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough question for me to answer, because, like, I see it more as like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, the bottom of the pyramid of health is food. And so I'm a hedonist. I love to play. I love flavor. I love new, interesting everything. And so while I try to eat as healthy as I can, like 10% of the time I'm going to play a little bit and try something new, or I might have some wine or some tequila or something like that. But what I do know is that over the holidays, for instance, when I got sick and I got a little lazy and I was kind of feeling all joyful and stuff, I ate a lot more, like, even processed gluten-free stuff out of boxes. They have like these new paleo TV dinners, like all this cool stuff that's coming out. And so it was like,
I didn't know that was allowed.
Yeah. Well, you could just pull it out now and it's like, mushrooms and steak. And I was like, hey, this is cool. I'm going to try these. But after like 2 weeks of that, I was less energetic. My skin doesn't really break out, but it can get like red and like dry. I wasn't sleeping as good. And so I think food is 100% foundational, like 90%. I have to be like 90% good on my diet. Otherwise things start to fall apart. And there's no, like, supplementation can hold me up for like a week or two, and then it falls off. And the whole thing, it's like a house of cards at that point. And so the thing with supplements for me is that it's like that next layer of, like, I could feel decent without my supplements, but like to feel really good, to have like a morning poo and just be like totally good to go, and like just be able to go out and eat whatever I want, I'm going to need my supplements. That's my gut. And I'm kind of dealing with a little bit of maybe I'm playing poker with 4 cards instead of 5 cards or something.
I have to believe that it's everybody. I think everyone's going to need a little bit of digestive support. And we're going to speak into that today, and really specifically speak into one of my favorite tools in the toolbox, which is digestive enzymes. Let's dive into, I know this is something you take every single day. It's something that I take every single day. And, why is it so important, especially for us as adults, to be adding in digestive enzymes at this point in our life?
Yeah, I think digestive enzymes are like the most underrated anti-aging feel-good tool out there. The prevailing theory at the moment in medicine is that we are born with sort of an enzyme reserve. We deplete it as we age, almost like the ovaries stop working in menopause, the testes stop working as men age. We almost have like this enzyme capacity that just goes away. And if you have a harder life or you have a harder time with digestion, you might burn through those enzymes faster. You might be in your 20s or in your early 30s already needing support that, other people might need in 40s or 50s. And the reason why is that enzymes are like critical for accessing the nutrients in the food. So maybe back to like 7th grade science or something, you have a cell wall. Inside that cell wall is all the cool stuff, that really cool diagram. That's like where all our nutrients are, whether it's a nut or broccoli or, a piece of meat. We have to unlock that stuff. And the way to unlock that stuff is with digestive enzymes. And so if your enzymes are low, you could just be, you could be investing a lot of time and energy into having this amazing diet, only to be getting like, say, 40 or 50% of the nutrients out of that diet. And if you add that up over a year, it starts to cause issues with the body.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Absolutely. And well, then we end up having all kinds of other digestive issues. I think like gas and bloating. I think those are some of the signs and symptoms that we're not digesting our food properly, that we're not breaking it down. So yeah, what are some other signs and symptoms where someone's listening to this and thinking, yeah, it's really difficult to know whether I've got all the enzymes that I need or not, but like clearly there's signs and symptoms that can indicate, what, it's worth giving it a try.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, gas and bloating, burping, heartburn, or sort of burning after you eat, finding, pieces of what you ate in the toilet. If you're taking a look, you should always take a peek in there and see what's happening. Not being consistent when you go to the bathroom, maybe takes 3 or 5 days to go, you're a little constipated, or maybe you're more on the loose stool side and you're going like 5-6 times a day. So inconsistencies in stool quality, those types of things. And then it goes beyond that. There's like all these like little things that start to spread, right? Let's say you have low amino acid absorption. So you get brittle hair, nails, skin, all the things that are like our beauty signatures of beauty are actually signatures of health. We get really good beauty signals when we have really good health. And so if you're malabsorbing, say, B vitamins like B12 or magnesium, manganese, all these things, you get these slowdowns in your body's functions, your metabolic processes, as well as outward signs like skin and hair and nails.
Okay. So yeah, looking out for our skin, looking out for our nails, looking out for our hair, all those are great indicators as well. And then also we know that when our gut starts to not work properly, starts to fail us, brain fog begins to happen, low energy begins to happen, maybe breakouts are happening as well. These are all great indicators that you've got to bring in the tools. And then when it comes to these tools, I mean, clearly there's a little bit of dialing to do, but I feel like this is always a great place to start.
Yeah.
It's an easy place to start, is beginning to start taking digestive enzymes. Now, if one were to bring them in, what is the recommendation? Like, when should we be taking these enzymes? How many times a day? Is it before every single meal? Kind of give us the breakdown of how consistent we really need to be to see those results.
It's every meal, because you never know when you're going to need them. And then I suggest that you take them systemically every day as well, which is without food. And so the reason why is I've spent the last over a decade now kind of trying to unpack, how do you get bloated? How do you have, why do I have all the pain that I have? And the truth is that your body is just magnificent. It's like a magical being, that how you create and digest food, and just from the smell of the food to what is your internal state when you eat that food, it's really quite magical. And so every day, like you were saying earlier, like the kiddo was having a bit of a meltdown. And so like, if you were to go eat right now, you would probably need those digestive enzymes more than, say, tomorrow, when it's like a more peaceful day around the house. And so taking them on a consistent basis is probably the number one way to avoid digestive upset in the long run. And the other reason why is there's downstream consequences. So I think on the show, you've talked a decent amount about probiotics, a little bit about the microbiome. What people maybe overlook is that the microbiome can only grow to whatever food is there. And so if we're absorbing the food and not giving it to the bugs, then we're going to create a healthier microbiome. And so with every bite, we are creating a microbiome. With every exercise, we're shaping our microbiome every day. And so digestive enzymes are a way to basically try to harvest the correct nutrients into our own bodies, as well as feed the microbiome and the bugs the right nutrients for them, and not encourage their overgrowth or their sort of, them having a party on us.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense as well. I want to dive deeper into digestive, the purpose of enzymes for digestive support versus systemic. So you said digestive wise, we really want to get the full benefit, probably like 30 minutes before you eat, like right when you sit down, take that digestive enzyme. And it's so funny. I used to have classes where I would show people what digestive enzymes do with like a bowl of oatmeal. or
Yeah.
like, and you can watch it just liquefy before your eyes. And, especially if you take it, before you consume that food. And so I think usually 30 minutes before, it's usually when I do it, 30 minutes before a meal. So have them in your purse. I am literally the friend with the digestive enzymes in my purse all the time, anywhere I go, my families. And it's mind blowing sometimes when people are like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, really? You know, so taking the digestive enzymes 30 minutes before a meal. But then, as you had mentioned, and that's, a full spectrum digestive enzyme is going to work on the carbs, going to work on the fats, going to work on the protein, going to really break all of that down. But then taking it on an empty stomach, like before going to bed or maybe first thing in the morning, the benefits of that as well. I always think of like a little Pac-Man going in and just cleaning up whatever else we just didn't handle.
That's really a great analogy for enzymes on an empty stomach. I mean, it literally is one of the process is blood filtration. It's going to go in, it's going to clean up the excess proteins, excess debris, whatever else is floating around in there, and that's not supposed to be there. Research studies suggest that it increases blood flow, and one of the reasons it does that is sort of decreases the stickiness inside of our blood. And so, part of getting heart disease and sort of slowing down as we age is stickier blood and more blood clotting and things like that. So, and there's really, really cool research on immune conditions and these things called circulating immune complexes, which are basically the body like tags a bad thing, but it can't get rid of it because it's too overwhelmed. And so it stores it somewhere to try to protect us. Because if it stays in the blood, it's going to hurt us. So it'll throw it, in rheumatoid arthritis, it'll throw it in the joints, and there's certain eye Sjogren's syndrome. It sort of affects the eyes. So based on your genetic makeup, your epigenetics, you have these places where your body's trying to basically put debris, and the enzymes can go in and kind of help clean up that excess debris that's already building up. And so they're really potent, especially if you have aches and pains, if you have like high uric acid or gout-like issues, all those types of things. You're trying to recover from any sort of injury, even including like, sickness. Like when I was sick over the holidays, I was popping like an extra like 4 or 5 a day. Just like, hey, go to town, help support that immune system, clean up whatever's excess in there.
That makes so much sense too. Yeah, I've been definitely known to take 2 at a time or 3 at a time, depending on what I am doing. And then also, if a lot of my listeners are struggling with an autoimmune condition, and it can be so beneficial there as well, because we know that there's such a direct connection to the gut, and whether we're flaring, depending on whatever autoimmune condition you mentioned, Sjogren's, and so, but it could be lupus, it could be Hashimoto's, it could be things like endometriosis. And so I'm really glad that you mentioned that as well, especially on a systemic level. I think about like the holidays where people go to the emergency room or go to the hospital to kind of get rotor-rooted because there's so much going on in their blood. But if we were all more consistent with cleaning that up, we wouldn't necessarily need such an emergency type of situation. My mom always talks about that because she's in the hospital, about like how the hospitals fill up with people who just ate a lot of gravy, and need a like rotor-rooter their vascular system. And I was like, really? And I mean, I knew that to be true, but like to hear that it happens at such abundance, especially when people are consuming these really rich foods, we could do a much better job if you're going to eat those foods, like help clean that up, get better at home than having to go to the hospital to do so. Okay. So, go on.
I just want to make a statement real quick there. I just want to say that Holozymes definitely doesn't treat any of these
diseases
or anything like that, but it may be supportive. And the other thing I just want to comment on there is the dosage level. I think people are get real scared about like the number of pills in their hand. They're like, oh, that's a lot. I just happen to have had life happen such that I have had to go really deep into cancer over the last few years for family members. And in many cancer circles, they'll use like up to 160 capsules systemically per day in enzymes. And so for those of us who aren't dealing with that, and like you said, you're like, I'm feeling kind of run down or I'm feeling kind of sluggish, taking 3 or 4, like literally is not even a big deal. Like you're really not pushing the bounds of what's possible for enzymes in the human body. That's a pretty low dose in comparison to other people and what they might be taking.
Well, and it's, really based on what you're going to eat too. I think, and that's usually like, if I know we're going to have, it's pretty rare, but gluten-free pizza, my husband is obsessed with pizza. So there's always this like constant like pull of like, he's always vying for it, and I'm like, but occasionally he wins and we do. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is a 2 to 3 digestive enzyme kind of night. There's lots of times when our body just needs more help. For example, we've been majorly ramping up vitamin D here in the house, like big time ramp up to help the immune system as well. Am I taking that much vitamin D on the daily? No. But am I taking a little bit more right now? Yeah, you best believe. And so I think we got to, it depends on what we're needing, especially working with women, when our periods are coming, that 5 days or 7 days prior, there's just things we're ramping up on. We're ramping up a little bit more magnesium. We're ramping up a little bit more chasteberry just to kind of help ease that transition because we know things are happening and changing in the body. Speaking into, what can be an appropriate amount also can be based on what you're doing and what you're consuming in that moment, particularly because you're a formulator. We're about to get into that right now. This was such an important crusade for you, not only to heal yourself, but gosh knows there's millions and millions of people struggling with digestive issues, and they're getting told the same thing by their doctors. Like, here's some over-the-counter stuff, reduce a couple of these things and just work it out,
Yeah.
And so having these other tools that you probably weren't told about, I think are so, so critical. And I know that is the reason why you chose to develop these tools. So the tool that we're talking about today, not that we can not talk about a couple other ones, is your proprietary digestive enzyme blend. And I mean, clearly I know the why behind why you created it. You needed it yourself, right?
Yeah.
And when I had learned you had one, I was so excited. I was so giddy. I am such a big fan of digestive enzymes. So I'm like, I'm always down to try another digestive enzyme. And I want to just speak into your enzyme blend for just a second. What I noticed, because I had been buying really high-end digestive enzymes, it's just been a huge part of our lifestyle for almost a decade now. But Holozyme, what was really amazing about it is just how we were consistent with it. I used it throughout all the fall and the holidays. And I'm not going to pretend like there wasn't some, holiday extravagance around food, and it stood the test of time. Even at times when I only took one, and I usually will double up on some of those occasions. And so I personally love it. My husband and I take it multiple times a day, right before meals. I just took one before lunch about a half hour ago. And so I just wanted to speak into my own personal experience with it, and just would love to hear a little bit more about your take on this beautiful, effective product.
Yeah, look, I didn't really set out to do this. I didn't really think that the world needed another supplement company. But when I got my functional medicine certification from the Kalish Institute, and when I worked with like over 350 really, really sick people, we would end up using multiple practitioner grade enzymes to try to cover all the available enzymes you need. There's like pancreatic enzymes, there's brush border enzymes, and there's microbiome enzymes. And so there really wasn't a product out there that would cover all three at the same time. And then I also felt like it was kind of hit or miss. I never really knew when I would give these to somebody if that would be their brand, or if I had to switch them to a different brand, or if I had to up their dose, or it was just kind of hit or miss. And so as an engineer, I'm always trying to reduce risk and improve like the effective rate. And so my goal with Holozymes and with Healthy Gut was to try to develop products that were like 80% effective, that like we could give them out to people, and 80% of the time we know that they're going to get the results that we're hoping them to get. And so I got sick again about 3 years ago, and just life kind of melted down in my life. And like, there was a lot of issues with cancer, like I said, and some other things. And I had to go back on all my sport tools. So I dug out all my enzymes and I started doing the things, and I was struggling. I was like, why is this so inconsistent? Someone has to have figured this out. And so that's how I found the PhD that I did in Utah, who had patented a way to make the enzymes work inside the capsule without having to rely on whether or not the food that you ate that day would react with them and turn them on. And so it was like an activation patent. And suddenly I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Just use the biology. Like, everybody just forgot about the chemistry behind enzymes And here's this, kind of lone ranger out in Utah, just like working away in the lab, trying to figure this all out. So we took his patent and made sure we had all 3 types of enzymes in there. And this is our 4th iteration, actually. We keep trying to make it better every single time. We added different enzymes like xylanase for people who have polyphenol reactions. We added alpha galactidase in a higher dose for people who struggle with beans and cruciferous vegetables. And so my goal is just to keep iterating like an engineer, not necessarily like they do maybe in the nutraceutical world, but more in the engineering world of like, how can we just keep getting this better and better and better? And so that's sort of the whole enzyme difference, is the fact that it is fully activated inside the capsule. It comes with fulvic and humic acids in there to activate things. And then, as we learn about new enzymes that are helpful for certain people who struggle with like maybe a food sensitivity here or a food sensitivity there, I'm going to keep piling those in there as much as we can to hopefully create the most just complete package, something that's going to just help you get the minerals and vitamins from your food, but also keep you from even having to worry, am I going to have an upset tummy or am I going to have bloating?
And I love that so much. I love the focus on the food sensitivities, right? Because every single one of us are so different depending on what is going on. And yeah, I know that you mentioned you had a little mini disclaimer of these aren't curing anything. This is about helping to up level your digestive system so that it can do its job better, and that you are able to really take full advantage of what you're consuming and turn that into actual energy, fuel, information for the cells in your body. It's ultimately what we're talking about. That's integrative medicine in a nutshell. And so, but most importantly, there's a lot of foods that people just can't eat. They don't mess around. They don't mess with anymore because of the sensitivities around them. They just don't feel good when they eat them. And I love that you're taking such an emphasis on really ensuring that we're able to break those things down. A lot of people can't eat broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. It's just way too much on the gut, and it's just too hard to break down. And so I love that that's a consideration. What are some of your, in terms of, already being activated, what are some of the like really positive responses that you get from your consumers every day? Because I'm assuming this is a very, very, very popular tool set for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now we sort of specialize as a company for the really sensitive folks and for the people who have been sort of like a health warrior or a health nerd for a long time. And so a common thing is like, hey, I've tried 8 or 10 other enzyme products, and I'm finally getting the no bloating, or I'm finally able to eat more food groups again. Like I can eat dairy again, or I can eat eggs again, or something like that. And so a common theme that we get is like, I almost gave up trying to solve my gut issues. I gave you guys one last try, and I'm so glad I did. That's a very common theme. And the symptomology is very different per person, but usually our sort of whole enzyme sort of big breakthrough is around the bloating and gas, usually for folks, and consistency in the toilet, as well as sort of like anti-inflammatory throughout the rest of the day. So it's not that the back of our bottle reads all that different than other people's out there. It's the fact that ours are activated. And then I really work hard to try to make sure we're hitting the microbiome, the brush border, and the pancreatic enzymes, because there's no test out there that we can really dial in like, well, which enzyme are you deficient in? Well, we can't measure brush border and microbiome enzymes without going in and like knocking you out and like, you got to draw like a
very invasive.
Yeah, it's not, there's no good way to do it. So yeah, that's where we get a lot of our success stories and our big testimonials. And then, the cool thing about it is that on the team, we ask everybody to try it. And there's several people that don't have digestive. They don't consider themselves digestively upset, but they're like, saying things like, oh my gosh, I'm eating ice cream again, and I'm enjoying cheese and pizza again. And like, do I want people eating those things on a regular basis? I don't. But do I want you to have the option to do that whenever you need to, or whenever you feels right with your family? Then yes, the answer is totally. I would love it for you to have that great experience with your parents or with your kids or whatever it is. I think being able to cover all those challenging foods in a capsule is a big benefit to a lot of people.
I think it's a huge benefit to a lot of people, massive benefit. And I agree with you there. This isn't like a permission slip to just do it whenever you want. But yeah, there's going to be incidences where you're going to want to celebrate with family, and I don't want you to be in that really tough situation. Now, if you just choose like, hey, that's just not my road anyway, I'm still not going to eat that cake or whatever that is, then go get it. But if indeed you want to make that decision much easier, and you want to be like, I've got something to back me up here, I got something that can really help me ease any of that discomfort, I think it's such a no-brainer here. But I think when we were really talking before, not only do I want it so you have a backup and you've got options and you've got a really, wonderful solution for those particular moments, but ultimately, I think that your gut deserves daily support and daily tools to function so that your cells are functioning, so that your mitochondria are working properly, so that you've got the energy to do the things that you want to do in the world. And so this is just one of those, what I think is a non-negotiable tool personally for everyday overall health. If it's important to you about what you eat and what you put into your body, shouldn't it be important that you're actually assimilating and breaking that down so that your gut, your microbiome, your cells are getting what they need? I think if we're going to invest the kind of money in putting the right type of food in our body, we need to equally be investing our money in ensuring that we're breaking it down. And that can just be so challenging to know. So why guess? That was always my mindset a decade ago, was like, why am I guessing this? Why don't I just guarantee that I'm actually breaking this down? I'm spending a lot of money on this food.
Totally. Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't set it better myself. I mean, I love that you love enzymes so much. And, I try to get this message across to people, but I think they struggle because there's so many other shiny objects out there. There's probiotics and there's pill and this idea.
This kefir and this bone broth and this, and those are sexy. They're great. But I think this is like the workhorse. That You're right. It's so understated. And so that's why I had to have you come on and talk about this, because I've been meaning to have an expert come on and have this conversation with me. I feel like they're so underrated. And this, I cannot tell you how many times I've been on stage in front of 40,000 people telling people to take digestive enzymes. And they're just like, that's the thing. Like,
yeah, people, I don't think they love to hear it, but like what makes a professional athlete, like what makes a professional tennis player the best in the world, they do the fundamentals better than everybody else. And then they're able to innovate it at the last like 10%. And so the fundamentals of your digestion are enzymes and assimilating that food inside of you. And so all the other cool stuff, the kefir, the yogurts, the probiotics, that stuff's all fun and exciting, and you should test it. But like you said, if you don't do the basics right, you're always going to be chasing your tail. You're always going to be wondering, like, why am I just not like why am I not feeling like I should? Or why is health such a struggle for me? And one of those reasons is your body isn't doing the basics. And one of the basics that most of us need support with is enzymes. And, there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of them is just the fact that we live in a crazy time with a lot of stress, and there's some toxicity in our world. And so helping our body do the basics right kind of gives you your floor is higher, allowing you just to feel better on a more regular basis, I think.
I agree. And I think it's just worth noting that how we do anything, how you and I are having this conversation, how I'm sitting here with you is enzymes. Literally, enzymes run every single reaction in all of the body. I just want to point that out. I know so often we wonder, well, how do we do the things we do? It's called enzymes. That is exactly how we do it. Okay, Stephen, tell me where we can go. I know I have all the goodies in my notes here.
Yeah, we got a $15 off coupon and free shipping for US based customers. So I think it's healthygut.com/Dr. Mariza.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I've got it right here. And so jump on it. I need a re-up on mine. So I'm going to take it. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to take advantage of it myself. And I want to say, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being down to have this conversation with me. I hope everyone, you're walking away knowing you got to lock in those fundamentals. I love that. And I was thinking about Steph Curry is my favorite basketball player. We're big Warriors fans here. And he is all about the fundamentals. And that is why he's one of the best players ever. So I'm just going to slip that in. Anyway.
Well, yeah. And to double down on that, my promise to you guys and anyone listening to this is that we will help you try to lock in those fundamentals. We have a 60-day money back policy, and we have health coaches on our team that will get on a call with you if it's not working for you. If you're like, hey, I heard him on a podcast and I tried it and like nothing's changing, like we are here for you. That's our promise as a company. And if it doesn't work for you, because it doesn't work for everybody, we will give you your money back and say, go try someone else's enzymes. Like we want you to get the power of enzymes in your life, and we want to see you benefiting from it. And it might not be our product, but we're going to try to help you along that path.
I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that commitment.
For sure. It's the fundamentals. That's what matters, is like taking the right dose for you at the right times.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for coming on. Yeah, I can't wait for my audience to check you out and check out your amazing line.
Thanks for having me.